Dynamite download. Dynamite download.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dynamite Download. You got Crayfish, your host here. You got SPD, who is now, where are you at in the country, SPD?
Texas.
Yeah, a traveling man. And then we got our West Coast gangster over there, Zepp. How you doing over there, bud?
Doing good, man. That was a crazy episode.
Oh my gosh, guys. Oh, you know what? This was really advertised as basically the starting point of a new season for AEW. And, they delivered and then some tonight. This was my favorite episode, and I can't even tell you how long, guys. It really, from top to bottom, if you can't tell, I'm cheesing, man. The whole show, I was loving every single bit of it. It was really a stacked card, and they got a lot of FaceTime for a lot of different people on tonight's show, right? One of the things that I loved the most about tonight's card was how diverse it was. SPD, why don't you throw that graphic up for us? Yeah, so – guys, we started off with a bang tonight, Wardlow versus Jungle Boy. And the big man, Ward Dog, came out on top. I had a little doubt last week. I thought maybe the underdog Jungle Boy might have maybe snuck one through, but Wardlow looked absolutely dominant tonight. And then we got to see the Kenny Omega versus Sonny Kiss. Really, that was a pivot. All of us were expecting to see the bad boy Joey Janela, and we can get into that once we cover that match in particular. Ray Phoenix and Penta went head-to-head. The Lucha Brothers tore the house down tonight. And then we got to see the drunken, jaded millennial cowboy, Adam Page, take on everyone's favorite stooge of the Dark Order, Colt Cabana. And then my favorite, if FTR or Britt Baker are on the show, you know that I'm going to be happy. We're going to be having a good time tonight, guys, because Britt Baker absolutely dominated against somebody named Killian King. Really, it was one of the few matches that AEW's ever showcased where it was a squash, and rightfully so. And then the end of the show, that the featuring of tag team wrestling, that's really the backbone of what makes AEW special. We got to see the Young Bucks finally come out on top of one of these big matches and set the stage in dramatic fashion to end the show. To go head-to-head with FTR. Maybe that match is in doubt given what we saw. That said, before I get too far ahead of myself, I know we as a team were geeking out so hard about this world title tournament. The first match of the night was Wardlow versus Jungle Boy, and really a classic tale of David versus Goliath in this one, right, guys? SPD, we at Dynamite Download are all big fans of Wardlow. Can you jump in real quick and tell us, what did you think about that match? What were your first impressions as you got to watch that massacre take place?
I loved it. And, Wardlow, like you said, we are very big fans of him. And it's nice to see him on a roll. And I did watch him on Dark last night, and he dominated. I love that he's got, essentially two main finishers, and both of them are pretty brutal. And I think the announcers kept hyping him up and putting him over as much as possible. If a big man can move, he'll bring in money and all that.
Yeah,
and
JR was laying that on thick, wasn't he?
He was definitely laying it on thick,
Yeah.
like his barbecue sauce. And so, but I am a huge fan of Wardlow. He might pop up later on my top performer. We'll see. But just the dominant performance that he had, that's what I expected. I was really not hoping for this underdog upset. You got to build Wardlow, and we all agree we're ready for him to break free from MJF and go on a tear. Him and Luchasaurus were just battling. It was some awesome battles. He is an awesome big man, and I love his strength. It's particularly those thrown suplexes, whatever you call them. I don't know. It was just impressive. Granted, he's doing it to a guy 150 pounds, but I think he could probably get someone a little bit heavier to do the same thing. His F10, his essentially go to sleep off the top turnbuckle. I mean, his repertoire is awesome, and I think we have a future star on our hands.
I can't agree with you more. I don't even really think anybody needs to know whether you gave this an elite or delete, considering you said the word loved probably 30 times in your little Wardlow segment there. I think we all have a little man love for Wardlow. That guy is a beast.
Yep.
SPD, you got to put this one as an elite, right?
Definitely elite from
Heck
SPD
yeah,
on this one.
Nate,
Awesome.
Nate Zepp, you've been the guy who's been really touting the Wardlow bandwagon, really making room for all of us from the get-go. You kind of pointed it out very early on when we were watching AEW that you thought this guy was a future star.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What do you think?
Before he even came to AEW, I remember I went on his Instagram to do some detective work, and I sent you guys a picture when he was called the Hoss. And I was like, I love this guy, the Hoss. I don't even know it. And then it just got better from there. I'm excited to see him kind of be able to show his skill set off now. It's been pent up, I think, with the fan base, so everyone's ready for it. When he had that awesome match in the cage with Cody, we saw some of it, but that was a long time ago. So
yeah, good point.
From my perspective, I think it was definitely an elite. But the one thing that was stood out for me as being surprising was I thought maybe Jungle Boy would get a quick roll up or something. I could see that because of a speed advantage. And then as the match actually started to unfold, I realized, holy shit, the 285-pound guy's just as fast as the 150-pound guy. And I was like, whoa. And then one other quick note on this. I love that the finisher is called the F10 because it devalues the F5 significantly.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the destruction left in the wake of the F10 is even greater than what we saw in the F5. And it's funny that we talk about that, right? Because that was one of the things that I was taken away as a fan. You guys know me. I've been a diehard fan since I was a little kid, right? And this made me really think about a young Brock Lesnar. This kid, this Wardlow, I'm repping the 216 for my man Wardlow tonight.
Yep.
I know he's an Ohio boy, Kent State product right there. But I gotta say, man, this dude, he's the total package. One of the things I liked about that, and you guys even mentioned about it being dominating on Dark, this was not only a Wardlow coming out party, but this was a Dark coming out party, man. If you want to see Wardlow dominating people, and that's just fun to watch, you're going to want to tune into Dark. I know that Dark is kind of on YouTube and it's maybe a little bit off the radar for most fans, but I think a lot of people after tonight are going to want to see more of the Ward Dog. That guy is a beast. He's 9-0 in the last 9 matches he's been on. He's just on an absolute tear. And I thought that tonight's matchup with Jungle Boy was a really great pairing, right? I got to give credit to Jungle Boy. That guy that was one of my biggest takeaways from this match too, was Jungle Boy needs to be paired with more big men. He's such a nice foil for some of these big guys that AEW has that could use a little bit of that, right? If you threw him in the ring with Brody Lee, I can imagine that there would be some awesome outcomes to that, right? I just think that he's willing and able to kind of throw himself out there. He's absolutely competitive. And Nate, I know he didn't have as much offense in this one as maybe I thought last week. I thought he might have snuck the victory out over Wardlow. So he snuck that past me. But that double knee off the top, the Hurricane Rana, and then double knee off the top rope, man, that was impressive. And he got a near fall. But the F10 from the outside into the ring, and then to come in, Wardlow to come in after that and then give another one in the middle of the ring, I felt like that was a real emphatic statement by Wardlow. And I think that all of us are salivating at the next matchup in the semifinals. That one, I don't know which one I'm more geeked about, guys. Speaking of that, we jumped right in to another tournament matchup. We got to see Kenny Omega going up against Sonny Kiss. Now, this was kind of a last-minute pivot for those of us that were following it on Twitter. The Twitter was blowing up because Joey Janela was actually pulled from the show due to COVID-related reasons. I'm not going to say that I missed that at all. I'm not going to get too much into that. I'm not a big Joey Janela fan. But I will say, from an entertainment perspective, Sonny Kiss, all of us think that Sonny Kiss is a great athlete, leans into his character, and certainly knows how to play up to his strengths. SPD, what do you think? I know that you are, for me, you've been dying to see more Kenny Omega, right? This was really the debut of the cleaner gimmick. I know that you haven't really had an opportunity to see a lot of his stuff from New Japan. I've been telling you, just wait and see until they finally get Kenny Omega to be the cleaner. What do you think from really the introduction being a jaw dropper, right, to really the first dominant squash in AEW recent history that I can remember? What do you think of the match?
I was running to find my broom to start sweeping along with him. So I've been waiting for this moment ever since I learned about the cleaner. And you're right. I don't know Kenny from his history, and seeing him on US TV was the first time I got to know him. After that, went down the rabbit hole and started watching some of his matches. And, people have said it, and I can strongly agree with him, possibly being the best in the world right now in the ring. So to finally see him back on TV and with this gimmick, with his entrance being just a spectacle on its own, which was longer than the match.
Sick.
Oh my
God. It was
God.
so sick.
I'm going to rewatch that entrance for sure.
I think a lot of AEW fanboys are going to be rewatching that entrance for other reasons too.
But the fact that he squashed Sonny, even though we all do like Sonny and what he's doing, and he is improving, and he is fun to watch. But to squash is the right move. It was definitely the right move, and I'm excited to see where Kenny goes from here. Honestly, at this point, you cannot have him lose this tournament. And I mean, I said that last week.
I know,
and I'll say it every week, but I can't see him losing that tournament.
You really?
Or else you'll see that.
You really do think that? You really do think that this is going to be the coronation of the cleaner, huh? You think that this tournament's going to be really just his really debut as a world champion contender?
I hope so, because I think it's Kenny's time. I think it's him to shine. He did his work with the tag division, grew that, and let kind of other stars blossom. And for that, it's an elite out of me.
I like that.
Hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
Hey, just leave the graphic up. I'm going to lead on this, for sure. I've been wanting the cleaner for a while. But not just that. It's I feel like no one's really experienced Kenny Omega in AEW yet. What they did experience from him was a great tag team with him and Hangman, but it was out of the blue, right? So it was almost like this, you're getting a version of Kenny Omega you didn't expect, and it was still great, but he's holding an ace up his sleeve the whole time, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's awesome. I'm pumped about it. You can tell it's pretty unanimous. I don't think anyone can argue Kenny Omega's not going to be awesome starting with this switchover.
Yeah.
I know there's some programs out there that think he's the worst, right? So I thought it was interesting that they made a note at the beginning of his entrance, and they stated all of his accolades.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That was
great.
awesome.
Great point by you.
Scroll, never ending scroll. Yeah. So
that was a great point by you, Zepp. That's something that I took note of too. They definitely made sure to emphasize all the accomplishments that Kenny's achieved.
It was great.
Yeah, I thought that's a great point by you. Yeah, I think that one of the things that I'm going to be most interested about is because there are certain people out there who are just notable Kenny haters. They're just, no matter what the guy does, they try to do that, and I can't wait to see that person try to spin this in a way that shits on Kenny, because this was absolute star-making stuff right here. For anybody who doesn't know about Kenny, the biggest organizations, the biggest companies in the whole world were trying to get this mullet, curly-haired, perm-looking dude on their roster. There's no doubt that Triple H and the brass over at the big dogs over at WWE were salivating at the possibility of potentially getting Kenny. There were multiple years in a row where Kenny was highly regarded as the best in the world, the best bout machine, that he could literally go into the ring and have a great match with anybody. And I think that some of that has been hidden in AEW. I think that he's been
Mhm.
he's taken the back burner. He's been a little unselfish. Certainly he's been at the forefront as a tag team with Hangman. But this was really a different, as JR was saying, this is a reinvention of Kenny Omega. This is a new cleaner that is brought to us as a fan base. And I thought that it was emphatic. It was great that he had an emphatic win. This is one of the things that I've talked about in the Crayfish Corner Dynamite download recaps is just that, unfortunately I've seen the AEW's in an effort to try to establish some of their lesser known stars are really putting on a lot of these longer epic type of matches. It felt like, during Cody's TNT Open Challenge, every match was just this back and forth epic battle. And Cody does tend to fall into that a little bit, which, hey, I love that. The more Cody, the better. But I've noticed that they did this same thing with Jericho. Jericho and Hager were struggling to put away teams that you would not guess that they would struggle to put away. And I don't want them to fall into that trap with Kenny Omega. I really love when AEW as a company recognizes, hey, these guys are stars and these guys are clearly at a different tier. They're operating at a different level.
Right.
For me, this is an absolute elite. There's not a question in my mind. The entrance was absolute home run, world quality. The match itself was a surprise. I don't think any of us expected it to go that way because we don't get the chance to really see a lot of these type of squash matches in AEW. And I think that Kenny just, with how brutal that knee strike and the one-winged angel was, just how quickly he put that match away. I think he made a statement tonight that he's coming for it. He's going to make SPD proud tonight.
Oh, yeah.
This is the beginning of the tournament victory for him. So that said, we went from a squash match to truthfully one of the best televised matches that I can remember in years. The battle of the Lucha Bros, guys. This one, I'm gonna need you, SPD, to jump in. My jaw was on the floor. This match from start to finish was just absolutely epic. Tell me, like, as a Lucha Bros fan, you've been preaching to the – now, again, I'm an FDR fanboy, but SPD is the Dynamite Download resident Lucha Bros slappy. He's been saying over and over again, these guys are the best tag team in the world. And to see these two go head-to-head, you just had to be geeking out.
I have a couple things. It's going to be like a roller coaster, but yes, they are the number one tag team, in my opinion, in the world, in AEW, anything beyond that. And they put on amazing one-of-a-kind matches every single time. And for them to go head-to-head, I was a little bummed just because, not about the match or the result, anything like that, the hype. They just kind of threw it in there. It was just like, why are they fighting each other? There's no story. There's nothing. This could and should have been a main event of any pay-per-view AEW had.
If SPD was booking the card, that would be the case. Now,
it should have been a main event.
But to be fair, the Lucha Bros have been presented to this point, right, as kind of a sidekicks, right? They were sidekicks of the Death Triangle, and now they're kind of like, obviously Penta is Eddie Kingston's best friend. So he's the right-hand man of the Kingston family. But let's be fair, right? To this point, the Lucha Bros haven't really been showcased and featured on TV that much. And that's why, to me, I thought you would be just geeking out so hard because this was really, for me, a showcase of what they can do, right?
Absolutely. I mean, this was outstanding, from the high flying to the chop battle. Gosh. I've always said Penta always gives the most brutal chops, and it just makes my chest cringe from when you and I had a chop battle. I still feel that pain. So
I got some massive hands, and I can't throw a chop like Penta, that's for sure.
I mean, this to me was a 10 out of 10 match. It was by far could have been one of the match of the year. Pure wrestling wise, by far the best match of the evening. It's just, I wish there was more build. There's no reason why they're fighting, really. It's just like I felt like the last two entrants to the tournament were just kind of just thrown in there with no like rhyme or reason. You know, they kind of like did three at a time. Then they're like, okay, it's set. Why are these two brothers fighting? It almost would have made more sense if they were in the finals fighting or in separate brackets, then come to another round or even
maybe
the
a
second round,
semifinal, right?
something like that. But where they can kind of build it a little bit more. But other than that, this is, like I said, 10 out of 10. Awesome match, outstanding wrestling.
You just wanted them to kind of milk it a little bit longer because of what a fanboy you are of the Lucha Bros.
For sure.
I get that. I get that 100%.
3 for 3 elite right now.
Yeah, this show is a home run show, guys. I think we're just gonna be geeking out the whole show. Zepp, what did you think? Lay it on me, man.
So Sean, I love you, but I disagree with you on this one. I think there's a storyline here, and I never would have imagined like how they were going to be able to pull it off, because I was bummed out too when they were first like lined up against each other. I was like, oh no. But you got to think of it this way: it was a tournament bracket, right? So it's randomized. You got to kind of make this assumption. It was no one's choice. There's no storyline. It's just how they got slotted, right? So if you think of it from that perspective, I was like, this kind of stinks because you got two people in the same family going against each other. All that changes when Eddie Kingston comes out and he's on commentary, because he's able to convince you that the family doesn't care. They know that the prize is the world's championship, and he's basically able to like let you know like that's how competitive this group is. They have each other's back outside the match, but they're ready to fight each other. And I also think he had a little shoot moment with Jim Ross, who gave him a little hard time there for a moment. Did you guys catch that? That was interesting.
I did.
Excalibur. It was Excalibur, right? Where
it was
Excalibur.
JR said something like, we'll talk about, I don't know, or how did it go? It was, Kingston was like, yeah, we should focus on the match. And then match hasn't started yet. Kind of like, and then he didn't like that. And he told a story about how he like killed someone with a baseball.
You and I are thinking about different moments, because I was thinking about how Excalibur was like, you know, oh man, you're going to have to face, like potentially if you beat John Moxley, you might have to face one of these guys. And Eddie Kingston just checked him right away. He was like, I'd rather face family than some random bitch. You know, he basically just like put it on him, you know. But no, I think that you make a good point, Zepp. I know that this is an elite for you too. One of the things that I'm going to say, again, I like to watch wrestling all over. And to me, AEW is the best, the most excited I've ever been as a fan. But I know the history of Lucha, of the Lucha Bros. I know Phoenix and Penta and the battles that they had in Lucha Underground, right? I know that like the way those two guys, and Kingston did a great job in commentary again. And this is one of the best things about this show. They featured so many people and they put them in so many great opportunities to succeed. They put Kingston at commentary. They put Taz out there cutting promos. So Kingston made sure to emphasize, hey, this is how Penta and Phoenix made their names in this country. They didn't make their names in this country as a tag team. They made their names in this country fighting each other. And I think that's a really like, and that was Kingston pointing it out in commentary, and it really is true. It's a reflection of their history. And I think that the match itself reflected how comfortable these two guys are in the ring together. I mean, we know, both of us know what Phoenix is able to pull off in the ring. We know that he does things and makes them look effortless, that really are feats that are beyond me ever imagining being able to do. But I also love that, and this is something that I think has been lost on AEW television, and I'm going to write more about it in my column, is that Pentagon is one of the most brutal strikers, one of the most focused. His offense, and this is one of the things that I really love about him, his offense is always focused and dialed in to a body part. He seems like he's strategically picking you apart and beating you down. And I love how you can tell he actually is trying to target areas of his opponent. That's one of the things I loved. And again, Sean, pointing about the brothers thing, Pentagon is really the darker of the two, right? In their history, Pentagon is the one who shows more of a bad side than Phoenix. And I think that that's natural. I think that the fans and the offense that Phoenix has, people just want to cheer for him. But Penta, as the big brother, showed sympathy in this match. He paused at multiple moments because he didn't want to take it to that next level. And so I think that this was kind of it was a nice job of playing off of that relationship as brothers, as family. These two guys just absolutely tore the house down.
Many moves I've never seen. What was that power bomb?
The push-up power bomb flip was just unbelievable.
I need to rewatch this.
I'm going to tomorrow. I'm going to rewatch this because I was just like, I was geeking out so hard when I was trying to write up my thing. I was just like, these guys are just freaking amazing, right? These guys are just so good together. It was really fun to watch, and that's what I love about when wrestling is fun to watch. It's something that pulls you in. This match, just based on the chemistry these two guys had and the physicality, the way, the moves that they pulled off, it would have been a great match just based off of that. But when you start to integrate and interweave the fact that they're a family, that they're brothers, that they're tied into a faction, that you got Kingston on the mic or at commentary, talking about this battle, it just all across the board was a perfect execution. I could not give AEW more praise for this match. This is by far an elite. All three of us gave this one an elite, clean sweep, and deservedly so.
Yeah. Mike.
Next, go ahead.
I got something for you. How about this part too? So to your point, you said that they were Pentagon was showing sympathy for Ray, which was unusual. But to go from that moment, it's almost like Pentagon built himself up mentally to then try to break his arm by the end of it. Which is just like to show you how crazy that like family is. And then you have Kingston pumping it up the whole time. Like they'll get over it no matter what happens. And it's
that's like, blood thicker than water type of thing.
It was awesome. It was a big win for me.
I mean, not to jump around, but Kingston all night was absolutely on fire. That's all I'll say about that. But we'll move on, and we'll bring him up a little bit later.
Yeah. You got me thinking about my star of the night, guys, because we got that later on in the show. Yep. We're gonna all talk about our star of the night, and you got me thinking about that, Downey, because there's no doubt, SPD, that Kingston. His segments, he was interwoven in this show beautifully, and that guy knows how to deliver on the mic, does he not? Oh my God, he's just a beast.
Smooth as butter.
Three segments, right?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, because they showcased his promo after the show last week that he cut on Mox, right? Which was just one of those that you get goosebumps from. Then they had his rebuttal to Moxley in a segment, right? And then they had him on commentary tonight. So, yeah, he was very much a focal point of the show tonight, and rightfully so.
And one of my favorite shows. So I think that goes to show you how awesome. He didn't step in the ring.
Well said. Well said. And for me, I was coming off of a big low last week. I was bummed out about Archer going down. I thought that, that was something that they kind of missed an opportunity on that guy. But, man, 1 week later, I'm that's in the rear view. And I'm looking forward to Full Gear. I can't wait till Kingston versus Moxley in that I Quit match is just gonna be must see. It's gonna be worth the money alone. The way that those guys cut promos on each other. We'll get to that later. That said, guys, the final match of the 8-man world title tournament was the next match. Phoenix versus Penta went, and then we got to see Paige versus Colt Cabana. SPD, what did you think about this one? Because I'm gonna pump my brakes and let you guys talk about it, just to see to feel the room out a little bit. Because this is one of the moments where I kind of need a little bit of feedback on it, and maybe make me check my opinion.
I got mixed. It was overall a good match. It was an exciting match to watch. I was, believe it or not, I'm gonna say it. Cabana impressed me. It was probably one of the better matches I've ever seen him wrestle, and it made me believe like he could upset him.
Wow.
And honestly, deep down in my heart, obviously that wasn't going to happen. Paige is too much of a draw and too good of a wrestler, but it was the second closest match of the night of the tournament, in terms of like back and forth.
Yeah.
But, Cabana impressed me, and then overall was a great wrestling match. But a couple things I got, like with the Dark Order real quick, where's Brody? not to go on a tangent, like after he gets beat, I guess like, is he taking, his tail between his legs and going to hide? Like, what is that? Where's his rebuttal? Is he going to show up next week? But what are they doing with the Dark Order in that essence? And like, they're coming out and like helping him out. After the match.
buddy,
Yeah.
time out, man. I want to get your lead or delete on this, but when you give a hot take like that on the Dark Order, I have to segue it to Zepp real quick. And Zepp, as the resident Dark Order nerd here, can you give us a little insight on what do you think about Brody Lee? You've always been a Brody Lee fan. He's been really you've been the guy who's touted us his prowess and his growth since joining in AEW. I think that you've seen it. He's leaning into the character more. But what do you say in response to that? Like, what's going on with his character? Do you think that they're doing the right thing by keeping him off TV a little bit and letting us miss him? Or do you want to see Brody immediately respond to a loss like that? What's your take?
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, I think I definitely want to see someone in his position hate losing to the point where he just goes on a rampage, back to like maybe even casting blame inside of his own group, all kinds of things, right? I think there's stuff to be done there, but the message that you lose, your team's there, and you're nursing anything, right, as like the big lead dog of anything, I don't know that sends like necessarily like a badass vibe to your character at all. It sends more of like a, okay, I lose sometimes, and I don't want to think of him like that, right? He's had a couple big losses, a big win. Don't get me wrong, the win over Cody was big, but
yeah,
a couple big losses there too, where then what happens after it? It's almost like it does take a second to build him back up. I don't want to think of him as beatable as that, where he can lose and then we don't see him for a bit. I can handle him losing and then kicking ass for a while as like a response, So I miss him.
Yeah, and I think that they're doing the same thing with. I mean, Lance Archer wasn't on the show tonight either, and obviously it was a packed show. I get that, right? It was jam packed, but after such a huge loss, and after Phoenix hitting him in the back with a chair, I'm surprised that we didn't see any Archer during that match tonight.
Yeah, and he hinted a lot on social media too, like he's coming for them, and so
he did.
Granted, it was packed card, and like you already have 30 stars? You said, Nate.
Yeah, I was counting, and I stopped at 30. How many different stars either had a talking point or were on camera? Like, and I'm not talking like over the guardrails, but I'm talking like in a segment of some kind. It was over 30 in 2 hours, so that's something to say about like,
show. Wow.
Dude.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they all delivered, really, for the most part. SPD, getting back to you, man, I just want you to really quickly tie it up in a bow. What do you think? Was this an elite or delete for you? You obviously were impressed by Colt Cabana. But
I thought I'd never say that.
Yeah, but Hangman came out on top, brother. So what are you thinking?
Honestly, just to be a little tough critic, I got to give it a delete because it kind of got overshadowed in all the other great things that were happening. It was still entertaining, but just to kind of give it a little tough critic, I had a little bit higher expectations from Hangman Adam Page, and he could have delivered a little bit more. And it's a tough act to follow. I mean, how are you going to follow that? Even if there's promos in between, it's a tough one to follow. And so just for that reason, it's a delete in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow up. Delete for me on this one. I'll be a little spoiler. My only delete of the night. Cabana, although he impressed me also, it's just one of those things. My mind doesn't want to be impressed by him, which is I don't know. It's like it's so hard to invest in him at all. He could do a moonsault off of like the Statue of Liberty, and I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah,
it's not fair, but
no, I know.
No, you know what, Nate? That's a fair criticism to me because
he's not likable.
Well, I don't know. See, to me, I think he's too likable, and this is something that I was writing up in my review too. Is and guys, make sure you check that out. The write up. That's one of the things that I mentioned is just like, all right, he's got a podcast, and it almost feels like he's just this good guy. He's just like this good dude who just like, hey man, like, and he just doesn't feel like he takes it. I can't believe or buy into him wanting to kick someone's ass. If that makes sense. Like, I just don't see him as somebody who's like fired up or like really wants to win. I just don't see it. I think that he integrates too much like convoluted comedy into his matches. And to me, he always has been a weird fit in the Dark Order. I have to give him credit that the gear tonight, that was something that I really was impressed. I like that he kind of leaned into that, and maybe he's had that before. I just never noticed it. But in this showcase with Adam Page, I thought that his look was really good. I like that he went into the Dark Order color scheme and all that, which was great. But I just feel like it didn't really do Hangman Page any favors. Yeah. See, that's the guy I picture, right? That's the guy I picture when he goes into a match. And I'm sorry, like, I just don't see him as somebody who's fired up and wants to win, who will do whatever it takes to beat someone up, you know? I just don't see it. I see a smiley, goofy guy. And so I'm glad that he lost. And I'm glad that the right guy won. Obviously, Hangman advancing in the tournament, going against Wardlow next round.
Ooh, that's going to be great.
Oh my gosh, dude. I don't like, again, you got Kenny Omega. Oh, never mind. We'll talk about it later. Okay. We'll talk about it later.
Guys, I just realized something horrible.
Yeah.
I think Colt Cabana is really unique.
Okay. We'll get more. Go ahead. I'm going to give you before I give this one a delete too and make it a clean sweep. Go ahead and tell me, why is he so unique, man? Like, what do you have to say about that?
He's confused us all. He's the only one on the roster that we have like confusion around. I feel like we're like, we don't know what to feel about him, and that's gotta, like, this is a regular thing.
Yeah.
Out there, I'm like, whoa.
Okay.
Nice guy? Is he
boom boom?
Yeah. Like, we don't know what to do with him, and like, there's no one else that we can say that we're like, I don't know. There's something about him that I think maybe we're underselling, and he's doing right, and we just aren't getting it yet.
Colt Cabana, the paradox. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. He got us hooked into his program, and we just don't know it.
I think that there's going to be some stoners out there smoking a fat one tonight, thinking about, man, maybe Colt Cabana is a way deeper character than I gave him credit for. In reality, Nate, I think you might be reading a little bit too much into this one, buddy. I think he just might not be that good at playing one thing or the other. I think, truthfully, Colt Cabana, this is what I'm going to say, right? This is the delete for me. That said, right, Colt Cabana is a great hand, and this is I know that this dates back to Hangman or Cody versus Shawn Spears. No one wants to be called a good hand, but Colt Cabana serves his purpose, right? He's never going to be the world champion of your organization, hopefully, but he can put on a good match where he can hit his offense. He can make sure that things flow pretty well in a match, and then he could ultimately put over the guy who you want to make look good, right? And that, there is a place for that. I just think that all of us are a little down on this match in particular because of the placement on the card. It just after that Lucha Bros battle, it's very hard. I think anybody would have been in a bad spot. After
that's where they should have put the women's match.
Well, speaking of that, SPD, what do you got? Britt Baker, the Doctor, my girl, going up against and Adam Cole's girl, going up against Killian King. Was that correct? Killian King, right?
I believe that's correct.
Yes, Killian King. We didn't even give her an introduction tonight. As sad as that is.
Sadly.
But Britt Baker came out all dressed in pink, rocking a nice tan, got the pink going for breast cancer awareness. What do you guys think? SPD, as the biggest fan of women's wrestling in our group here, what'd you say? Is this an elite or delete from you, bud?
So I am dying to be proven wrong time and time again.
Jeez.
So please just like,
my God.
I think
Here comes Goldberg.
I think
The
for that
continues.
That's all I got to say.
The streak continues. Yeah, we would be disappointed if you gave it anything other than that. I can't wait for the day when Britt Baker earns an elite from you. But
you can't tell me that match was an elite. Britt Baker as a character is an elite. The match itself was a delete.
Zepp?
I understand where you're coming from. It's hard to call the match itself like an elite match, but if Britt Baker's in the segment that we're reviewing, it gets an elite for me. I think she's the women's division right now. Thunder Rosa not in the picture. You got, I mean, it's for Britt Baker to take, in my opinion. Like, yeah, even on Being the Elite, she steals the scene when she makes the cameo there. I don't know. For me,
I agree. I like her as a character. You know, and here's your elite for you, Nate. So, Zepp. So, like I said, as a character, she is awesome. Still's got some tuning in the ring, but it can be entertaining in the ring. But if you're gonna be doing squash matches like this, like I wasn't too entertained.
Okay.
You like the like at finisher with that like submission, the what's it called? I don't know. We should know this.
The only thing I don't like about it is, I'm gonna go grab a glove from ringside, granted to be clean and the COVID and all that BS, but it's like
dentists do wear gloves, bro.
Right, but you should be pulling it out of your tights like Mr. Sacco.
Okay, I mean, if that happens, that'll get the elite for me. We finally know the criteria.
All right, Britt Baker, you know that the gauntlet has been set. SPD wants to see you pull your glove out of your tights. All right. Okay. I'm gonna sound like a parrot. I think that Zepp, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that Britt Baker is the women's division. I think that I've been really championing Britt Baker for a long time. She's leaning into this character so much, and I think she stands out in AEW. She feels like such a natural on screen. And truthfully, I'm going to be gushing about her performance and what a star I think she is in my write-up. But to me personally, I think that Britt Baker is somebody who has the personality and has the star power that you can build a division around. Yes,
I will agree with that. I
understand SPD that, she's young and there's room to grow there as far as in ring. Some of her matches can sometimes feel like she's working towards the next move, and she's trying to naturally segue into stuff. But I think that even JR and the commentary team tonight commented that since she's come back from injury, her offense seems far more focused. Her offense seems a lot crisper. She seems more confident than she ever has been. And I think that's a scary thing for the women's division in AEW. A confident Britt Baker who knows how good she is. Mm-hmm. She's not going to be given the stage to anybody else. I think that it's only a matter of time before AEW goes all in on Britt Baker and recognizes the star that they have in her.
I think they should as early as Full Gear. Why not?
Yeah. I know that there's been a lot of stuff on Dark lately with Nyla Rose and Vicky talking about how Nyla needs the rematch against Shida and how Shida's dodging Nyla. And that's something that is obviously interesting. I think that it's not a coincidence that as Britt Baker talks about, the ratings have dipped a little bit when the women come on. And unfortunately, Nyla and Britt Baker haven't been on TV. I think that, as we talked about, Zepp, Thunder Rosa and Shida are both incredible talents in the ring. There's no denying how good they are when it comes to in-ring action, right? But when it comes to larger-than-life superstars, when it comes to somebody who you want to watch perform, Britt Baker and Nyla Rose are the two stars of this division. And the more that AEW goes in on them, the better the product's going to be. So elite from me, without question. I want to see more Britt Baker on my TV. That said, we have
Before we go forward to the last main event, I got a couple things. I don't know if you guys were watching, live or if you were like muting the commercials, but did you guys catch, I don't know if it was on your feed based on where you guys are at, the WWE commercial during AEW? Did you guys see that?
I did not see that on my feed.
Okay, so for my TV, they were advertising Raw. It's a fresh roster and fresh thing. So they were advertising the heck out of Raw on an AEW commercial. So it's very interesting that I caught that. But since you guys didn't catch that, I want to touch base on this little segment first. Like, what did you think of that?
Well, this is a good segue, honestly, because I think that there's a young, bankable star in the women's division that's undeniable, and that's Britt Baker. And I think that AEW has the same thing in the men's division. MJF is a young, bankable star. This guy is absolutely gold. You follow him on social media. He's always in character. He's always hilarious. He's always doing something that will make you want to like get engaged and hope that he retweets you or something, because he is absolutely hilarious. And this segment to me was pure comedy, was absolutely gold, and it was hard to pull off when you think about what they're trying to execute here, right? This could have been incredibly corny in a bad way, but I think it was cheesy in a good way. What do you think, SPD?
At times I was like, what the heck am I watching? And these are two of my favorite stars in AEW. And I almost feel like Jericho is like seeing a younger version of himself in this, and almost a younger, better version of himself, if that's even possible to say. Um, MJF is definitely the star. Like he says, he's going to be leading the company for year after year. And for them to just work so well together, it's almost like they're looking in a mirror. Just the one take, a smoothness of them timing, just the timing of it all. It was just over the top cheese. At times I was like, what is this? This is ridiculous. But because I love these two guys so much, like I've said, they could do no wrong. And where it goes from here, I don't know. Are they going to wrestle a heel versus heel? Do we see some, like I said last week, of a bold prediction of MJF overtaking the inner circle and then Jericho breaking away? That was a bold prediction. I don't see any hints of that now, but maybe next week at the town hall. But it's just these two need to be on TV every single week.
Yeah, and SPD, I'll let you wax poetic about this later on when we get into the segment of the night, because clearly you are so excited that they're building more and more MJF and Chris Jericho, which again, I don't blame you. The way I put it is it's like AEW recognizes what Reese's recognized. Peanut butter and chocolate go real well together. These two guys, anytime you put them on screen, they just complement each other really well. Their natural charisma, their ability to improv, they can somehow find a way to take something that might have been a flub or a mistake and turn it into gold like it was meant to be. So we'll get into that later on tonight. That's a really great great point by you. And again, it's a nice segue from the Britt Baker segment, because you will eventually see that Britt Baker is the MJF of the women's division.
I'm telling
You'll
you,
see it.
I like her as a character. It just, the in-ring performances from the women's division is very.
You don't have it in you.
Best.
You don't even need to say anything. You just don't even have it in you. You can't give credit to women's wrestling yet. We'll eventually get it out of you. Zepp and I are going to work on you.
What's the streak at?
Yeah.
You guys can keep a tally.
We got to go back to old text messages. We'll come up with a number of how many consecutive weeks.
That's all right. All right. I'm waiting to be proved wrong.
But yeah, I have one thing to say about that one before we move on. I just wanted to chime in. I noticed that, like, can we all agree Jericho's probably one of the best mic men ever?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, for sure.
It's the only time I've ever seen Jericho in his career have to keep pace with somebody else intellectually on the mic. And I was like, or performance-wise like that. Not like in-ring performance, but like performing. And I was like, that I think he recognizes. He's better maybe than I was at that age. That means he's got even greater potential, and I'm already maybe the best. So, yeah, I love it, man. Those guys together are awesome.
That is a very good point about that, about Jericho.
Getting into in SPD, you threw that graphic up there while Nate was chiming in there. Let's talk about the main event, guys. This was an amazing show from top to bottom. What did you guys think about the main event, the tag team number one contenders 4-way match? SPD, what are your thoughts coming out of that matchup? And really, we all know the way that match ended was memorable, but what do you think about the actual match itself? What do you think?
There was a lot going on, and with all that going on, I expected more high spots. Overall, it made everyone had strong. I think Butcher and the Blade looked the weakest. Okay. Unfortunately, John Silver, we're all a pretty heavy John Silver fan, and I think seeing them on Dark and seeing them wrestle, like those two guys worked well together. Alex Reynolds and Silver, and Private Party, still young and green, have some awesome skill set for sure. I could never see the Young Bucks losing this. The only reason I could have seen someone else losing or them losing is to kind of further the feud and to go where it goes from here. But as we saw at the end, it still could further the feud. If they end up being severely injured, then someone else could take their spot. It really put some heavy heat on FTR.
Well said.
But then where do you go with the Young Bucks? Clearly they're pushing for heel turns or if they, this heel anti-everything movement, and then all of a sudden FTR being the number one heel tag team, putting them down like this cheap shot and having Tully do all these things. Like, what do you do with the Young Bucks from here? I don't know.
Zepp, what was your takeaway? I know that you're a Butcher and the Blade fan. Do you think that you agree with SPD that they looked the weakest in tonight's matchup? And where would you take the Young Bucks from here? Do you think that this is going to be one of those things that is going to keep them out on the shelf for a little bit, and that the AEW needs to pivot? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Big Butch is obviously one of my favorites besides Darby. So anytime he looks a little bit less than stellar, I'm always like a little down on it. I thought he looked so strong a couple weeks ago when he fought Mox for the championship, surprisingly. So that was pretty lame on tonight's show, in my opinion. So I guess I would give this one the lead as well after revisiting it. But for me, it always seemed kind of obvious that Young Bucks were like the pro team going against possibly like 3 under team, or what do you want to call it? I don't want to call these guys minor league guys, but it just always seemed like they were just the clear cut winner to win this one.
Well, so yeah, I mean, Zepp, not to like undercut what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying there, right? None of these guys have been presented the same way that the Best Friends have. They haven't been presented the same way that even like maybe Santana and Ortiz have.
Right.
I get what you're saying. These tag teams outside of the Young Bucks, none of them have really been focused or showcased as legitimate contenders up to this point, right?
Yep.
I understand where you're coming from on that. SPD, what were your thoughts? Are you going to take this as an elite or delete? Do you agree with Zepp?
I still am going back and forth with it. Overall, I had higher expectations for this match, just with the pure talent in it, and I expected John Silver to shine a little bit more. He did have some spots I was excited because they're putting him over too. The announcers were putting him over, as rightfully so. But sadly, for the main event, I'm going delete.
Wow, guys, I'm shocked. I'm really genuinely shocked. For me, the match itself may have not been as much of what we would have hoped it would have been, right? I don't think that there was nearly as many believable finishes. I think some of that is because, as Zepp pointed out, I didn't really have any doubt that the Young Bucks were going to win this one. I thought that potentially, maybe it's because I've been falling into the Dark Order. You guys have been trying to pull me in. But I watch Being the Elite every week, and I just love what Silver and Reynolds are doing. I love what the Dark Order are doing on Being the Elite, even though I don't like them on Dynamite for whatever reason. But I know
don't even get us started on that.
You guys have to be dying just watching me say that I like what they're doing.
We're gonna create a video that shows where you were and you now, and back to back.
I was one of the biggest haters of the Dark Order, but the more that I watch them on Being the Elite, the more that I see their natural personalities come out. They are hilarious. They're naturally very funny as a group of rejects, right? And so I thought maybe that could have happened because just building off of their like kind of underground popularity. But really, for the most part, I never really doubted that the Young Bucks were going to win this one. And so that does hurt the overall match, right? None of us really thought like any of these guys had a chance. So I can understand why you guys did a delete, but to me, sometimes the obvious choice isn't the bad choice, right? Sometimes it's not a bad thing that
that's true.
That like I mean, really, like this is what we want to see. We want to see FTR versus the Young Bucks, right?
True.
Sometimes just because it's what we know is going to happen doesn't mean that they shouldn't do it. They should, like,
good point.
To me, I think that the Young Bucks needed, a victory like this to kind of showcase just how good they are. That combo pile driver senton move that they did was just awesome. Their gear was on point tonight. I love whenever they bust out the $sign. I love that. I think that's always great. And personally, I think the end of the show, I don't know how you, to me, like, I love you guys, but I don't know how you can give that a delete given the end of the show. Not only did we get to like really lean heavily finally into the Young Bucks and FTR feud, we got to see some violence, a beatdown, a savage beatdown, and we got to see Tully Blanchard jumping off the top rope, brother.
Hey, he jumped
awesome,
off the
man.
He jumped off the middle rope.
Middle rope. All right, high flying move by Tully. That I was dying at the end. I was laughing my ass off. That was awesome. And to be honest with you, I know that the Young Bucks have been showing a little bit more edge on television lately, but this is something that as fans, knowing that they're the good guys, this is something as fans that we can get behind and say, man, whatever they do to FTR, it's deserved, right? Like, right. I hope that they show edge. I hope, we want these good guys now to like come back and beat the hell out of FTR. These guys who really FTR have shown that they've like cowards. They take all the cheap shots that they can. They take all the any opportunity they can to get it upper hand on their opponents behind the referee's back. They'll do anything that they can to do that, right? They've shown that they're kind of like champions that we don't want to root for. And then they do that kind of punk move, beating down and potentially taking out the Young Bucks, putting them on the shelf for a while after after they were crowned as their number one contenders. It just shows, to me, it highlights why FTR is so good at being bad guys. And it shows why we want the Young Bucks to ultimately take the belt off of them. It gives more push to that. I thought that the end of the show was awesome. AEW's done a really good job at pushing the tag division and doing the slow build to that feud. It's no longer a slow build to me anymore, fellas. We are all in on the Young Bucks and FTR. Those guys are ready to go at it. I want to see them beat the hell out of each other. For that reason alone, and again, I love the tag division in AEW, but for that reason alone, to see FTR and the Young Bucks, something that's been talked about for years, finally come to fruition, I'm all in, man. That's an elite for me, no doubt.
All right. After hearing this from the most amazing promoter I think I've ever gotten a pitch from, I literally have no idea how I gave this a delete. I don't know. It says more about me being incredibly wishy-washy, or you're just a great promoter. But I switched my statement, and I am elite. It was good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I'll jump on the bandwagon for someone who could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves.
Right?
I love it. I love it, fellas.
We got a triple elite.
It could have been all deletes, and now I turned the momentum to all elites. And Nate, you wonder why I'm good at sales, brother.
Yeah,
we were all superficial deletes, or Nate and I were superficial deletes.
I get
it. Once we get dive deeper with the your analogy, then we see where it can be and is an elite.
We all get those moments from time to time where we get wishy-washy on stuff. Last week I was total flip-flopper on the TNT title match and the world title match, right? I was torn. I didn't know how I felt, so I get it. But this one, I'm glad to see you guys saw the light. I'll leave it at that. All right, so before we get into our star of the night, I'd like to focus on our segment of the night, right? And this really is like, guys, what was your favorite promo? What was your favorite interaction? What was your favorite backstage moment? Who do you think really delivered that we didn't get the chance to cover necessarily on a match? SPD, I know that you were going hog wild on the old Eddie Kingston earlier, brother. Is that your guy? Tell me, what was the moment that jumped out to you?
Absolutely. It definitely is Eddie Kingston. He almost and should have been my top performer. I was going back and forth just because even though he didn't step foot in the ring, his 3 segments, if we decided that, were seriously like hair in my arms were raising up because of the way he can just spit fire. I was just like, oh my gosh, I do. And so that can raise up pretty quick. And so it was fun to see him. Boom, see him, commercial break, back again, see him again, and then again when for the match, and just the look on his face, man. I'm scared of him. I'd be scared of him.
Yeah.
So I think he did a fantastic job, as he has been doing time and time again, with leading his family. And I have no idea what's going to happen in this I Quit match. It would be I would be all for Eddie winning, but I can't see Mox losing, and then the person who wins
don't
the
worry
title
about
match.
it. Don't worry about it. Moxley's gonna add Eddie Kingston to his list again, brother.
Dude,
It's going to be brutal.
John Moxley's gonna do it again, man. He's gonna add another notch to his bedpost, brother. That's gonna be. Unfortunately, he's gonna make the mad dog start crying.
This graphic is awesome. How
Yeah, I know.
awesome is this graphic?
He needs a bigger bedpost. He needs a new bedpost. He needs to have a tree for a bedpost. He's got everybody on this sucker.
Amen, dude. Yeah, no, you're right, dude. This graphic is awesome. I gotta say, like Nate, you pointed it out weeks ago. Whoever is doing the graphics at AEW, man, they are killing it. Like that is just awesome. Like that is
the
an
eyes
amazing
with
poster.
the wheels. Oh,
I've never seen any better from like boxing to UFC. Like I'm pretty plugged into this stuff, like from a design perspective. I love that. And I've never seen anybody consistently just crush these. These are cooler than anyone I've ever seen do it. So props. I'm going to find out who next weekend.
I was going to say, guys, SPD, I want you to get on that because you're our social media guru of our team here. I want you to find out who's in charge of like their graphic department. And I want you to start tweeting Nate's love for them, man, because they deserve some kudos, dude. Like we give a lot of props to the in-ring performers, but AEW is a new promotion, and we need to remember, like, it's all about the presentation, right? Like there's more to it than just the in-ring product. And when you got stuff like that you can put on social media and you could advertise, I mean, those types of graphics, they know what they're doing. Like they are killing it on that. I totally agree with you, Zepp.
Yeah, we need to have them on the podcast. That would be great because
let's work on that.
Home run. Grand slam.
Sir. All right, so Zepp, Kingston was SPD's kind of like Kingston's promo, where he owned it, and that's what I love too about Kingston's promo was, it was almost as if he heard what Moxley had to say, and then owned it all. Said, "Yeah, I'm a lowlife, I'm a liar, I'm a cheater, I'm a bitter son of a bitch." And do you think that I like being that guy? You think I like looking in the mirror and seeing that reflection? I'm that way because I have to be, right? Like the way that he delivered that and owned that content was amazing. And it also comments on the promo that Moxley cut, right? You know that I've been kind of a critic of Moxley lately, and I think I was a little bitter because the amount of people he's been putting down. But every time I get down on Moxley, they have him cut a promo or do a segment, and I'm just like, the guy is money, dude. The guy is money. So he did set the stage really well for Kingston to have good content to work off of. Zepp, what was your favorite promo of the night?
Yeah, so this is a weird answer. My favorite promo of the night was Kingston also, but that first one where it was the overhang from the previous week. So not even a live promo for me was like, I was just shocked at what I was hearing. It was the first time in a long time I had belief suspended, and I thought it was a guy that was just yelling pissed off, like about something for real. I believed what he was saying. And I think there was probably a little sprinkle of truth in this because he was saying I think he was referencing a real exchange where you went to the land of the entertainers and said the inmates were going to run the asylum, and you never came back for me, kind of thing. And maybe that's how he's convincing himself as like a method actor, which is pretty cool. And it's coming across very authentic. So for me, that was a big win. And I love the idea that Mox quit on him with that move, right? But now they're in an I Quit match. And Kingston never quit in their previous match. And neither guy seemingly can you picture quitting anything ever. So it's just awesome. I love the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I think that you absolutely hit a home run. I think you're going to love my column because I was saying a lot of the same stuff, brother. I just feel like this guy, there's that truth when he spits on the mic. In that segment, that promo, you could feel – it was almost like he was close to crying at one point when he was so like just spitting it out at Mox about how you left me and the only one and then you got your beautiful wife and my beautiful wife is wrestling and she screwed me over and over again, right? Like he's done such a nice job. I think building off of that little bit of actual bitterness that might linger in somebody's heart, for seeing like your friends be more successful than you. I think a lot of us can relate to that in some way, shape, or form, right? Like we want the people we love to be successful, but we don't want them to pass us by and leave us behind and just be left in the dust, right? Like especially
if you feel like you worked harder or longer.
Exactly,
right?
And so that's one of the beautiful things about this feud. And I think you guys both did a great job of commenting on it. But that's one of the beautiful things about this feud is that, like, really, like, you see where Kingston's coming from, and he's almost like the dark side of the same coin, right? You see where he's coming from, where, like, this dude has put his body on the line for years, and he never really got the rub. He never got the recognition that Moxley did. But then, like, you go to Moxley's point of view, and, like, in his promo, he talks about it. Like, you're going to hate me because – I was successful because I'm providing for my family, that I made it. Like, anybody who knows Moxley's path, we know that he didn't get to stardom because somebody handpicked him and thought that he was, he had an easy road. That guy did not have an easy road. That guy shed just as much blood and sweat and tears as anybody else in modern wrestling. That's for damn sure. I've seen matches where literally he's had a cheese grater taken to his head, where he's had things that you would never want your worst enemy to go through. He's done it for the sake of this business. So you want that guy to be successful. That's the success story. But it's two guys cut from the same cloth who have had very different paths. And I think that that's what's beautiful about this feud. I think it's really great. I think both guys are very believable in what they're spitting out.
For sure.
So I will agree with you guys that this was a great show for Kingston and Moxley. There's two other segments that I think that we should talk about. But I'll focus on, just since it's going to be my segment of the night. I think that Cody is truly incredible on the mic, man. I think that obviously he delivers when it comes into the ring. He can have a great match with anybody, and all his matches are epic battles, right? But to me, Cody's promo tonight was so great because first it came off the heels of Orange Cassidy's promo, which fell a little flat for me, to be honest with you. I don't think that Orange Cassidy is the type of character where you can have like a Tony Schiavone hold a microphone in front of him and ask him questions. I just don't think that that's his strength. You should have him playing off of other characters. And I think that his apathy as a character didn't really, as JR put it, didn't really create compelling television. But right after that, you have Cody, who is dressed like $1 million, comes out, looks like what you would expect your executive vice president and TNT champion to look like, right? And he just has a way of naturally leaning into the company and his character and telling stories. Every time he's on the mic, he has a way of pulling you in as a fan and getting you engaged. I just thought that he killed it tonight. I thought that he was an absolute pro. To me, I think that one of the best things about Cody's promo was truthfully how Arn Anderson talked him up about how big he's gotten and how strong he's gotten and how now Cody's kind of ready to take on the champions. And this is one of the things I love about Cody, right? Is he's a good guy, but he has just enough ego that really anybody who's great at anything should have a little bit of an ego. And I think that he leaned into that. It was kind of cool. He kind of threw a little offhand comment about how excited he is tonight to just be the executive vice president and watch the show, right? I thought that was great, right? It's just little things like that. And then hyping up tonight's tournament about how, pretty platinum and what a beautiful belt that is and how important that belt is. I just think that Cody does a really great job of engaging the fans. I thought that it was really great to see him segue off of Cassidy, who kind of didn't really get me excited for their rematch. Cody did. Cody has me wanting to tune in next week. You could tell he's a little miffed that Orange Cassidy is getting a title shot, a rematch this quickly. This is 3 title shots in a row for Orange Cassidy in the span of a month.
I don't think he deserves it.
Well, that's a hot take, brother. And we'll talk more about that next week when they have their matchup head-to-head. They're going to go head-to-head again. But I do think that there's something to be said for Cody kind of emphasizing what you just said, man, this is 3 title shots in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that kind of came off as kind of a cocky, but in a sly way, right? He's still a good guy, but he kind of threw shade at his opponent. And I thought it was really well executed. To be able to do that as a good guy and still have a little edge to you, that's not easy to do. And so I give him credit for that. It's always easier to cut promos where you tell people they suck. So anyway, top performers of the night, guys. I thought it was going to be a clean sweep. I thought talking back and forth tonight, guys, I thought Ray Phoenix was the man. But SPD jumping out with the Ward Dog.
Mr. Mayhem.
I love it, brother. I love it. Top performers of the night, I think that all of us can agree each one of these – well, Ray Phoenix and Wardlow are both deserving. Great all-around performances in the ring. And I think that both of those guys really showed as stars tonight. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
It was fun to watch them blossom and to really shine on this show on TV.
Yeah, 2 totally different styles of competitors too, right? I mean, you get the one guy who's just high-flying, incredible, does acrobatics that you would never imagine with Phoenix, and then you got a young beast like Wardlow who just literally just ragdolled Jungle Boy, right? So 2 very different performances in the ring, but 2 equally excellent showings for both guys. So really great show tonight, guys, and I'm not surprised to see all of us geeked, amped up for the results of this show. I think going into next week, there's a lot of excitement about what we're going to see as far as the semifinals of the championship tournament. I think that has been a home run thus far. Tonight's show was so exciting, and a big part of that was because of the championship tournament. Looking at next week's card, guys, is there anything that you're looking at that you think is going to be a big pull away? Was there one particular match that you are more excited about? Because both of those semifinals matchups are incredibly interesting. What are you most looking forward to, SPD?
Oh, man, it could be anything really, minus number 3 personally, but
dude, you got this one wrong. Abaddon right before Halloween is going to be sweet.
That's true. She could come out with some awesome entrants, so I'm happy to be wowed. But to put 2 of the best in-ring performers, Kenny Omega and Ray Phoenix, in the ring together on TV, on free TV, it's going to be amazing. And I'm really interested to see the outcome of Adam Page and Wardlow, and because those 2 guys, Wardlow coming very strong and a really good push for him, and then if he drops to Page, how much does that hurt him? But for me, if I had to pick, Kenny Omega.
All right, Kenny Omega versus Ray Phoenix. I think that's going to be that certainly won't be the squash that we saw earlier tonight between Kenny and Sonny Kiss. That's definitely going to be an incredible match. Zepp, what are you most looking forward to, man?
I'm looking forward to all the matches, which I rarely say. Like, there's always there's one that I think I usually point out early, which is not fair. And I'm just like, okay, that's the one where I can kind of disengage a little bit. You got to do some stuff and look at your phone, whatever the case may be. But I don't have that going into next week. So for me, I think the town hall will be interesting for the Inner Circle, because for those who didn't see the dinner day debonair today with MJF and Jericho, it had everything, right? Ballroom dancing, insults to the waitress, competition amongst each other. But I don't know, coming out of that, what are they telling us with that they've been buddies all along? That I don't even know. It's hard to say, right? Is that them becoming best friends in the moment of this segment, and now the Inner Circle is going to have to digest it? I'm not really sure, but I can't wait to see what's next.
Anytime the Inner Circle's on television is great for me. I love that faction. I think that they're the best thing going in wrestling. I think that they always deliver, whether they're in the ring or on the mic. They have a great balance and a great blend of characters in that group, and I think that they've done a great job of really showcasing different talents as far as guys from all over the map, different styles, all of that. I think that that's a really great point by you, and something that might be underappreciated next week, given the card. Certainly, I do think that, based off of your guys' opinion of the Orange Cassidy and Cody match, that's going to be an interesting and it's a lumberjack match if you showed that correctly, right, SPD?
Yeah,
Why
that is a
that
lumberjack.
That's
match?
interesting. I think that adds a very unique wrinkle to that match that I'm curious about.
They were saying that it was because they don't want any interference from the Dark Order. So that's why they're throwing the lumberjack match into that.
Interesting.
So to me, the Dark Order still could be ringside.
Yeah.
But then they'll have other guys, maybe the Nightmare Family, Best Friends, to kind of do that. But I was reading on Twitter, and this would be great, that it would be very interesting to have a fatal four-way match essentially at Full Gear with Brody and Orange Cassidy, even though he's getting his 4th title shot if that was the case, and Darby Allin. So
yeah,
have we seen a fatal four-way match in AEW?
Not that I can remember.
No.
Not that I can remember. And I'll be honest with you, that would be a great way to get guys on a card. And can you imagine the differences? Talk about like blending of styles, right? I mean, to throw all 4 of those guys in one match, that would certainly that would be great television. That would be a phenomenal match. I like that. I like where you're going with that. I like that a lot.
Was there a Darby Steve-O segment tonight?
Yes.
I missed that. I don't know why it didn't come across my broadcast. I don't know if my ad ran long on Hulu, but that's like my guy too. I'm going back. I'm going back when this is over, and I'm checking it out.
Real quick on that segment, I think that's just another one of those crash test dummy, not needed segments where he gets in a body bag and does a drop in, essentially with no skateboard, just rolls down a huge half pipe in a body bag. Like, why? What does that accomplish? That promo absolutely does nothing. It's putting yourself at danger for no reason.
Yeah, I will say, like, there's a reason why we didn't really highlight that in our segment of the night. I mean, I would have gone, like, I would have even mentioned Miro's promo and his intensity that he brought in his promo with Sabian before I talked about the Darby one. It was more of the same. I love Darby, and I think that there is definitely, as the Young Bucks put in their interview recently, that I think that there's a lot to like about him as a future star. But the more that he's presented this way, it's harder and harder to see him as somebody who isn't his own worst enemy, right? Maybe you start to look at a guy who's not successful, and you start to say, well, dude, maybe you're the reason why. You're the one holding yourself back, right? And that, and as a good guy, you just kind of like, it's hard to get behind somebody like that. You just want him to wise up a little bit and maybe not put his body on the line all the time, right? But
yeah, you're not wrong. I agree. I have to agree with you guys.
Yeah. For me, guys, I'm definitely most excited for, oh man, Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix or Wardlow versus Hangman Page. I can't decide. I am just so excited about that next week, fellas. I can't wait to talk to you guys next week on another Dynamite download. Please make sure you guys subscribe. Click that button. It goes a long way. The more views we get, the more we appreciate that. Please follow us on Twitter at AEW Dynamite DL or on Instagram at Dynamite Download. We promise that we're going to get engaged with you guys. We love all the feedback from the fans because at the end of the day, we're fans too, right? So we love this, guys. Next week's show is going to be awesome. This week's show was a great start to the ramp up to Full Gear. I can't wait till next week. Final thoughts, SPD, anything you want to leave the audience with, brother?
Ready for the cleaner.
Awesome. Zepp?
Mike, you've been writing these awesome columns, these reviews about this show. How do people find it?
Go to dynamitedownload.com and you'll see right there. You can click on it. We have one every week. I get it up by Thursday at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can read my write-up. You're going to see a lot more of my opinions and my takes on things. This week's show, I think you're going to see a whole different side of Crayfish. The excitement that this show brought just made me feel like a little kid again. So I was geeking out writing this article, guys. I was really excited about it. So please, check it out. Thanks for the plug there, Zepp.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right. Awesome,
all right, later,
fellas.
guys.
Have a good one, guys.
See ya.